Hi, so I'm delighted to be with Tibor Varday in the next of the CaffèInsights series. Tibor lives in Budapest in Hungary, although he spends quite a lot of time in London. And he is there, so well, interestingly, which we'll come to, Budapest is not completely out of lockdown. There's a slightly different setup to what we have in the UK. But the rest of Hungary has. Tibor opened Espresso Embassy in 2012, and it has become a hugely well-respected cafe all over Europe. And it is a really lovely business. Some interesting aspects to it, which we will touch on, that I think are relevant generally, but also relevant to what's going on now. But Tibor also has the joy of being at home with his girlfriend Laura and 10-year-old son. So that's another little jiggling.
10 months.
10 months, sorry, 10 years,
yeah.
10 months, sorry. Yeah, big difference.
Yeah.
10-month-old son. So there's a lot of sort of juggling of all sorts of stuff going on. Why did I want to speak to Tibor? Well, the context of Budapest and Hungary was kind of important. And his predictions then as to what might happen off the back of that, because he's starting to see customer behavior that we haven't quite got through to yet. I also wanted to talk about the way that Tibor runs his business, which is really quite different, I think, to probably any other client that I've got. I think it's very long term. So we'll touch on some of that. And also Tibor's obsession, not just with exceptional coffee, which he really has, but the consistency and speed of delivery of exceptional coffee. So we'll touch a little bit on that and how that is all working, of course, under the current arrangement. And finally then, what his insight might be in terms of what people should be doing now. So, Tibor, how are you getting along?
What's Thanks, John. It's, I think, having a baby and a cafe that is changing every day these days is tiring, but also creative and fun in a way. Yeah. There's been dark days and much more enjoyable days. So all in all, it's kind of okay right now.
Yeah. So tell me what happened then in terms of the shutdown or lockdown. Tell me what happened in Budapest.
All right. So just to run briefly in the past 2 months almost. It was in the middle of March when everybody realized that things are really happening, and things sped up. First, certain coffee shops and other establishments started kind of limiting their service on their own. There was no government, saying or no shutdown, but we started reducing tables, saying that people shouldn't bring their takeaway cups. This was kind of happening internationally, to be honest. I saw it, on Twitter and Instagram, other coffee shops. So I think we kind of did it in a wave with other people around the world. But soon enough, about around the 20th or 20-something, the pandemic was announced by the WHO. And on the same day, the Hungarian government also announced the state of emergency, which is his own story. But pretty soon, the governmental limitations came. So, but we kept being kind of a step ahead.
Yeah.
We limited ourselves always a little bit more than what was asked from us. All up until when somewhere in the beginning of April, it's getting blurry, there was a limited lockdown or a partial curfew imposed, which means basically people were asked not to leave home unless it's really important. But there was not really police involved, and it wasn't super strict at any here. Also, the numbers of the infections in Hungary and this region seem to be lower than in West Europe for whatever reasons. This is not so. Yeah, but it seems that actually, somehow for now, things worked a little bit better. But then we closed fully, and I just wanted to, even though we still didn't really have to legally close.
Yeah.
You could do takeaway coffee.
Yes.
And then I kind of observed what the situation is and how the government, I didn't fully know, are they really trying to get us off the street? How big is the danger? Are we all going to get infected within days? You know, it was
exactly.
Yeah, nobody knew. Am I really putting everyone at risk by even, coming to work? And then I came to the conclusion that, okay, so the government seems to not want us to all close. They're not fully shutting down the economy, and they're not really also helping a lot.
Yeah.
If you want to shut down at that point.
Yes.
So I and we changed our strategy to kind of abiding what the government asks, but not doing more.
Yeah.
So we reopened for takeaway with one of, we call them plexi,
Yes.
A plexiglass and only takeaway and gloves and masks. And I don't know, I try to be always very nice with staff, but here, we're always very strict here. Like, don't touch the cup higher than whatever. Don't talk to your other barista. Don't get close to each other. So really took it very seriously, but did reopen.
Yeah.
Right after Easter, and we've been open since. So that's the quick story.
Sure. Yeah. So what does it look like on a day-to-day basis now? How is it working in terms of your social distancing, in terms of the safety, in terms of what?
So we have a recently slightly enlarged cafe. So there's a big space inside, which is kind of interesting because suddenly there's all this space where we could do things because there's no customers in the shop. And they come to the window, and we try to serve them as quick as possible. They order it through the window. We give the drinks out through the door, and yeah, it's a little bit better than what I expected.
Mm-hmm.
So that initial March extreme slump of down 20% before the lockdown, 20% of our original sales. Compared to that, now there's a little bit more people. So up to 40-50% on some days. Again, I'll try to not give too many caveats. I hope this is not a bad thing,
Yeah.
I'm celebrating.
Of course, no, I understand completely. Yeah, I understand.
But okay, the official numbers of the virus are relatively under control, and the coffee shop is selling coffee, so the numbers are a little bit better. So currently, there's some hope, some cautious hope that we can do this. With a constant dilemma of what the future will bring.
Yeah.
For example, I'll give you an example. I think as coffee shops, we are somewhat lucky that takeaway coffee is such a thing.
Of course.
But it's possible that they will allow us to reopen.
Yeah.
In some sort of a weird distanced way.
Yeah.
Now, I don't even know if that's better.
Yeah,
because if you spread out a customer every 2 meters, and it's almost easier to just do this takeaway thing and try to speed it up than to serve a cafe at half its capacity.
Sure. Yes, no, I would tend to agree.
Maybe when it comes, we might figure something out.
Yeah. But Yeah, I mean, I have a friend in Hong Kong, and he talks about, people are going out, but they've got big X's on every other table, and I think it's very difficult to try and imagine exactly how it works, or how it is going to work, or how that whole hospitality piece can really work within that. Have they given you any dates in terms of when they feel like the next stage might be?
Well, currently in Hungary, the the part of the country outside of Budapest, so-called countryside, is they can, for example, work terraces. So restaurants and cafes can work on their terraces with distancing, but not inside. And the earliest date that this could happen here in the capital is, I think, next week.
Okay.
So that might happen. Again, problematic, like how much terrace space does one have and so on. Inside, I don't know yet. Nobody knows.
So around you, you have a lot of offices. I mean, how many people are living around you? My memory, it's not that many.
It's not that many, but there seems to be some. And I think we also have a fairly good situation as a drive-by cafe.
Right.
So the street is wide enough that you can kind of park without really parking and pick up a coffee and go.
Right, yes.
So we do have, people either living here or coming, and slowly the offices are filling up again, or some people are coming back.
Is the embassy closed?
The Montenegro embassy, which is right above us, is actually open, but it's not very highly staffed.
Sure.
The banks and all these the governmental institutions are all just partly staffed. So that's another thing we're looking at when it's going to happen.
Yeah. So how are the customers behaving? Are people very nervous? I'm assuming it varies a lot by individual to individual, and also by age.
Yeah. I think what is more visible, it's easier to see the people who are not nervous.
Right.
Who don't mind standing around the cafe, with a drink, and then those are these crazy hospitality decisions. What am I supposed to do now? Is hospitality now saying, like, here's your coffee, go away?
Yeah.
Is this the new thing? How to make people feel safe? So it's absolutely counterintuitive. But anyway, so some people are very relaxed. And it could be an age thing too. And I'm sure that, a lot of people are still very much even avoiding to come out, or maybe when they see some people around waiting for their drinks, they just don't even stop.
Yeah, sure.
So, all in all is, and this is one of my kind of main thoughts that I keep having in my mind, is that we just have to find a way to serve the customers fast.
Yes.
The only way to avoid lines, queues, and grouping of people is to let them order fast and go fast. And I believe that this, no matter how the curfews change and the limitations, and this will be the only way to somehow get close to the number of coffees that we used to make.
Yeah. Are you selling any pastries? Any food at all?
We're selling pastries. That's a difficult one because they're less visible. Some of them are in the fridge. Maybe that's something we could move closer to the window.
Yeah. I think that's very much a challenge that everybody's going to have to face, is that, as we all know, great percentage margin in coffee, but very little in terms of actual, euros or pound notes everywhere. So trying to get that, if you are going to be down so much, trying to get that additional spend as well. Of course, there is the supply chain issue. But I think that people are going to have to work hard on their merchandising as well as just that getting of coffee out quickly. You are able to get, so what is the supply chain situation like? Are you able to get basically everything you need?
Yes. Actually, for a while, some of our pastry providers were not we only bring in other people's pastry. But now they're kind of back, and so we can sell those. We also added, like many others around the world, a certain amount of other products. So our dairy supplier, organic milk supplier, it's a small farm, now brings his his yogurt and cheese and cream cheese and stuff like that, and milk, obviously more milk.
Mm-hmm.
So we're selling that, and as well as there's a small artisanal fresh pasta producer. We got that in. And I got in very early on, that was maybe the first thing, a vegetable box.
Yes.
We're actually, the vegetable box we're not making any money on.
Right, okay.
It's a service.
Yes.
But all of these partly came from the idea, okay, there's a limited curfew. The government's saying don't go out unless you have to.
Yeah.
And I also kind of agree. It's not that
I agree completely.
You know? So what can we do to make it worthwhile? Okay, cappuccino, important, but
yeah,
but if I can give you some cheese, if I can give you pasta and cheese, you have dinner for 2 nights. If I can, give you a vegetable box, a great vegetable box, better than what you can get in the surroundings, then it kind of makes sense.
Yes, it becomes, you're bonding more together in the one trip, as it were.
Yeah. So it's this mixed thing of giving meaning of what you're going to get, but also money with milk. And also just, I think what it also brought is some kind of an energy of here's a coffee shop that's trying to do something, and I think people resonate. Everybody feels more alive. And
sure.
It's nice.
Yeah.
And we have fridge space now, and because it's not full of stuff that we used to sell. So why not?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that this is the interesting thing. Most people that I'm speaking to who are opening up in some form like you, they are getting a lot of energy back from the customers, and a lot of customers are very keen to see them open. Without passing any judgments on anybody, I think whether they open or stay closed, there's no doubt that this industry that we're in, we provide something that is much more than a cup of coffee. And I think it's interesting to see how that is going to develop, or how that will develop. The longer term brands, the folk that have been at it, really building those customer bases like you for whatever it is, 8 years now. I think those folk that have really worked, and that doesn't even have to be 8 years. Somebody can open up very, very short period of time, but build very strong relationships.
Of course.
But that's who the customers want to go and work with, or want to come back to. And I think what will be interesting, I had an email today from somebody asking me what my view was on the big three, Starbucks, Nero, and Coffee. And the reality is I haven't thought that much about it, because I've just really been thinking so much from an independent perspective. Yeah. And I don't know what the answer is, actually. I don't have an immediate response to what it would be. But my perception is that obviously, like so many of those folks, they have to be very careful with the PR aspect of getting people back. The trust piece is extremely important. But actually, my belief and my hope is that more than ever, the independent is going to be what people will want to go and support. And, that conversation I had with Jake, he was talking about how his customers were very, very comfortable to download a slightly clunky app to buy stuff through rather than the Deliveroo app, because they save so much money. So wanting to support from a community perspective. But you said you're feeling like, even though you're in a quite a not necessarily a domestic part of of Budapest, but you're feeling a strong community spirit.
Definitely, yeah. I think this was also a common experience. Maybe and people in the UK can also share that. Really, there was a few days in March when everything was shutting down rapidly.
Yeah.
It was very dramatic.
It was.
And in many ways it still is, I know, but let's and now when it's kind of, when people are getting out, then you see that it's it's not necessarily going to be like that forever.
Yes, sure.
And yeah, people just reappeared cautiously, but they did. And yeah, many people say things, and they're happy to, you know, to help. And actually, I've forgotten to mention, this is important. We did very early on start selling gift certificates. One of these future gift certificates.
Yes.
Where you can buy coffee when all of this ends.
Yeah.
And I added some things like, if our prices change, we'll give you more.
Yeah.
You know, I promise you everything. And the response was amazing.
Yes, I mean, I think that's a lot of people, a lot of very good independents have had very strong responses to that.
Yeah. It's even like now there will be some kind of a good government loan, it seems, I hope.
Yeah.
So I'm probably going to stop selling these, or we're not pushing them anymore, because I don't want to have like £10,000 in.
Yes, it's a complex issue. It is a complex issue. I mean, it's fine for folk like you, who I would certainly hope and assume will make it through, but it is, there is a little bit of an issue, because you're effectively borrowing money from if you don't make it through, you know.
Of course, there is a risk. Yeah, I try to somehow, without having a completely clear number, but I have some kind of idea of how much I'm willing to bleed for this.
Yeah.
So definitely in the darkest days, these gift certificates were a very, very good source of hope, and really showed the support. Like some people really, you know, £300.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a few, and I don't. It sounds like it's bragging, but it was just
That's
these
amazing.
outpours from a customer. You know, a few, 2 or 3 of these. I don't know.
Sure.
It's really nice.
But that comes off the back of long-term hospitality and looking after people. You know.
Definitely, yeah. And you know what? I actually I kind of thought about this sometime. Yeah. Not the virus, but we ended up being, from a year to year, in a more and more touristy zone.
Yes.
It was becoming over tourism here in Budapest slowly. But I did mention a few times to Szilárd, the general manager, like, do you remember that Iceland volcano when air travel stopped? And I said, like, Szilárd, we might be able to just start ripping off tourists. Not really, but, you know, just, you know, make the money.
Yeah.
We could probably pull that off for a few years, but then one volcano hits.
Yeah. That's right.
And you have to go back to your locals. Now, luckily, we didn't start ripping off tourists.
Yes. No, I know.
And we kept our local customer base, and that's paid off.
I mean, I think that ties in a lot with that thing that we've talked about a number of times about your business, where you have a very long-term view, and that reflects in a lot of the decisions, whether they're investment-based, design, all sorts of aspects. Because for clarity, Tibor's just extended out quite a reasonable amount to one side. More seating. I know, exactly. Yeah, great timing. But the decisions that Tibor makes are often based upon wanting to have a business and what's it going to look like 25 years down the line. You know, will that shop fit? And often people are doing shop fits where they think this will last 5 years and then they'll redo it. I did a little bit of work with a Conran design partnership many years ago, and it was quite extraordinarily expensive to get them to come out and put together. It was a restaurant stuff, but they used to talk about in their head that they wanted their design to basically be capable of lasting for 15 years. And all that you would need to do is just maybe change a couple of colors here and there. Built it like that. And I think you do a very, very similar thing. You're building this business for a long-term perspective. That isn't necessarily something that just sits and catches the zeitgeist, I hate to use that term, but of what people want now. And therefore there's this consistency. We know that, which is one of the reasons why I'm getting back into the game, we know that people are going to be drinking coffee, sitting in coffee shops, give or take 100 years from now, unless we don't mess, and, you know, assuming we don't mess the whole planet up. But so the principle is there, but not everybody does that within their own business. But I think, you know, so that concept of thinking very long term, in my opinion, is probably serving you very well now, because you have, as you said, not decided just to get the quick buck from the tourists.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I feel that right now. I feel that now it's paying off, even though technically it's not paying.
It's not paying off at all. Yes, but yes. Well, I mean, I talk about these sort of 4 phases, and it's like that. Yeah, you know, phase 3 is kind of that bit where everybody's sort of, I mean, you know, maybe the rest of Hungary, but you know, we're moving into lockdown, and it's all the pain that you're in now, really, and just trying to work out how it's all going to work, and then, you know, do you remove half the tables and all of those things? But it's the phase 4 piece that I'm kind of interested in terms of what happens when we have this. I'm going to use the term new normal. You know, what's that going to look like? And I think for some people, you know, there's lots of things that people can do. But there is still at the very core a business that has a really, really strong understanding of hospitality, the environment that people were in, you know, consistency of the coffee, and all of those core fundamentals to the business will survive, as long as they don't have horrible cash flow issues, you know. Yeah. And that's who people will want to go back to. I think the other thing I want to kind of touch on as well is, well, a couple of little points. You know, I use these stories, but you changed. But Tibor sells a lot of coffee, and you changed, what was it, from the Mythos 1 to a Mythos 2 and saved 4 seconds per grind or something. And what was that story?
Yeah, it was supposed to, yeah. But yeah, anyway, we had that conversation for sure. Yes. Yeah.
So the point is, he did lots and lots of detail of looking at it and thinking, well, how many times, you know, how many shots am I grinding per day? How much time is that saving me? And therefore, and then extrapolating that over the day and the week and the year. And some of those calculations, when we did them, are fascinating, because it's huge amounts of time. And you do 2 things, one of which is you get more people through, but you end up with happier customers over and above. So maybe you are, and again, it's a little bit about the investment decision piece. You might be then spending a substantial amount of money on a new grinder. But over a period of time, if you can extrapolate out the speed, of course, depends very much from location to location, you can then look at, actually think that will pay for itself, you know, a lot. It'll actually pay for itself rather than me just having depreciated in normal terms. You know, and the second thing, of course, was so every part of the transactional process, the operational process with the customer, Tibor breaks down. So one of the other pieces was, you know, offering whether the customer pays in forints or euros, both of which is, you know, is how you know, both currencies exist in Hungary, rather than just giving them immediately in euros, which I think most people do. Isn't that right?
Oh yeah, that's the card thing. Yeah. The credit card machines have this little scheme of if you choose the conversion, then there's a kickback, even you get some money. And yeah, that's always an easy point towards the customer to offer the version that's better for them. Yes. You know, these little extras of hospitality, I think, have always been.
But they are. But it's breaking down also the how long are all of those things taking? So it's piece, you know, so that you've got, and I think now what you're saying, there's a safety aspect. You know, so not just are you trying to get people through quick, are you normally trying to get people through very fast, very consistently with delicious coffee? What else have you come across? Have you come across anything else recently that you've done to streamline or speed up that operation?
Yeah, honestly, we're still, we're actually planning to do some changes. There's 2 big things that may or may not happen, but I'm hoping that I'll be able to pull off. One is, we've never had an ordering app. Yes. And the reason I really want one now is just because I don't want people to queue. Yeah. I don't think that people want to queue. Yeah, we don't have an endless space for queuing. It's bigger than it was, but it's still limited, and people will just not want to stay if there's a queue. Absolutely. But if they can just order at some corner, or even 10 meters from the shop, and we can make the coffee quick, then that should work. So I want a simple app with which you can order and pay.
Yeah.
Not necessarily pre-order, not get a push notification of an offer, not get a newsletter. Order. Easy. So that's one of the things for ordering. And for delivery of coffee, it's either even more streamlining how we make coffee once again, or maybe bringing in a second machine, which we could fit now.
Which you have space for, don't you?
I have space for it. I even actually have the machine because we had the training machine.
Oh, that's right.
So that's something. This is something not to be taken lightly, but it may be an experiment that we will do. I really think that it's the only way. There's in the next 6 to 12 months, speed will be, sadly, kind of a little bit sad that we have to kind of get people out fast. But I think otherwise they just won't want to stay.
No, I think you're right.
I go into the supermarket these days. I look through the window. How many people? I'm going to go in or I'm not going to go in. That's the decision.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Yeah, I mean, we go to a different supermarket to normal purely because they're just much stricter in terms of the amount that they let in. It's so I think everybody has to be really aware of that. This is a constant balance that everybody's trying to work out. How do you maintain hospitality? How do you maintain all of those things? How do you build average transaction value? How do you do the add-ons? But also, how do you
very tricky. Sorry to interrupt, but this is going to be a tricky one. Okay, so we're adding shop stuff. We're selling pasta and yogurt, but at one point that slows you down as well. That's this balance to, streamlining and adding. But it's I think we can keep adjusting that as we move on.
So in terms of what would you suggest, or what do you suggest that people should be trying to work on at the moment, particularly if they haven't yet opened up or are, reopened, as it were, or even opened just for takeaway? I mean, we've certainly within, that little group that I manage on Facebook, we have a lot of people who are thinking about opening next week or have opened last week just for takeaway. And then we have this sort of July vague deadline that Boris came up with the other day that I'm sure you heard. It doesn't mean anything at all. He just said hospitality may open, So in terms of what you feel that people should be working on, have you any kind of
with respect to the hugely different situations, but I can say what worked for us. With takeaway, a plexiglass is very nice. Buy it, bringing, if you have windows or if you have a possibility to bring some products closer to the eye, then do it. If you're selling coffee beans, put the bag to the window. If you can put the cakes or the croissants, if you're getting them, put them in a place where they're visible. I really believe that they're looking at hygiene very much because people will be watching you. Just do it because it's right, but do it also because people will be watching you.
Do it very obviously.
What I think opening for a fairly broad time, if you can, is maybe smart. We're actually opening earlier now on weekends than we used to. First of all, because there's staff and you don't need a lot of staff, but maybe people want to get in before that peak.
Sure.
So if there's people to work anyway, then maybe it's worth just being open and getting those. We also did this one thing. I don't know if it's generally helpful, but right now our opening hours are the same every day. Because after all this chaos of are you open, are you not open, what's happening, I love saying that we're open from 7:30 to 5 every day. And when someone asks you, are you open tomorrow? We're open every day. 7:30 to 5. every post. I think that's a good message right now to give some.
I think you're right, because also weekends are blending into weekdays at the moment in this kind of weird world.
Yeah. So just have that kind of stability that you're doing something. Again, selling these other products has proven interesting and making some money off of it too.
Yeah.
I think everybody, depending on where you live and what space you have. And yeah, coming back to this point, just looking at how the customer will order, where they will stand, how much this can be controlled, and how much it can be sped up. Sadly, I think this will be key.
Okay, brilliant.
Yeah.
So, are you getting much sleep then? With that, what time does he wake up in the morning?
It's okay. Yeah, he's okay. Yeah, thanks. I wake up at 6, but I think as an ex-barista or a barista, I still have the morning wake up. It was never a problem for me. So
yeah. Good. Well, look, thank you very much for your time. It's very much appreciated. I know you've had to leave the house and go and sit in the cafe, and it's the evening, so it's very much appreciated. And I look forward to hopefully seeing you again at some stage.
Definitely.
And as ever, obviously, keep safe and look after that wee man and Laura.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for the chat.